Ross Maguire, today's guest, is the founder of Azure Printed Homes. That name is descriptive. The company prints small homes, accessory dwelling units, and similar small structures. The business could address housing costs and environmental impact. Ross will share insights about his work and his superpower. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe. Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show. Ross, thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to connect.
Great to connect. Thank you, Devin, for having me.
Yeah, you're doing some amazing work. You know, the 3D printing really got a lot of hype nearly a decade ago when it kind of entered the public awareness. And then it sort of faded as in some ways in our imagination, but quietly behind the scenes, it's been picking up real industrial, everyday applications, and we're not always aware of it. But you're now building homes and offices and ADUs and stuff with the 3D printer. Tell us a little bit about this technology.
Yeah, so we have a robotic arm 3D printer that is based in our factory. So there's a few different approaches for 3D printing and construction right now. Ours is to create an assembly line of producing homes in factory. So day one and at the beginning of our production line is the print itself. So we complete the entire shell of each module on day one. So we print the floor, two of the walls, and the roof, which is great because it means on day two we're already wiring and we're plumbing on the inside, and it just accelerates the whole process to a whole nother level. So we see it as kind of the tip of the iceberg of where the technology can go, because we're keeping it down to two distinct model designs right now, but there's obviously so much room for evolution moving forward. But for us to kind of prove out the efficiency of doing it this way, we're keeping the kind of vision fairly narrow initially, and it ultimately means that we can create these modules, whether they're, as you say, an office or an ADU or a home. We can create each module within like a 5 to 10 day period of time, which is extremely fast, and that's been the whole motivation, to create homes quickly, affordably, and in a better way for the environment as well.
It's a brilliant idea, and you're just getting started with this. So how many have you built now?
So we have just two models in our factory. We're creating kind of like a showroom space for those units, for people to come and see and kick the tires and get a touchy-feely experience with them. We actually start production, so we've pre-sold now, as it stands, over $16 million worth of units, and one printer has a capacity of 8 million in revenue per year. So we've effectively overbooked our first printer for 2 years. So that's part of what we're actually doing, a raise at the moment to fund our kind of second and third printer, so that we can get to a point where we can start marketing. That's the other part of it. We haven't actually marketed the units yet. The pre-sales that we've managed to generate have been purely from, I think we did 1 week of Facebook ads in February, and it's just been, we haven't spent a penny since. It's just kind of snowballed from there, so it's just been amazing. But yeah, we want to get to a point where we can start producing. The whole idea of this is the speed and efficiency. So we don't want to be overbooked for 2 years and have people on a 2-year waiting list. We want to be able to get these out quickly. So yeah.
Yeah, so one of the things that's interesting about your model is that you're using recycled plastic as one of the inputs for the 3D printer, right? It's, I guess, a primary input. Tell us a little bit about that, how that works.
Yeah, I think we calculated it the other day that one of our modules uses approximately 100,000 plastic bottles. as its as part of its material base. So yeah, the plastics recycled, collected, recycled, broken down, and then blended with a few other compounds, including fiberglass, which gives it added strength, a few other additives that give it more durability and and protection from the environment. And then we print it through our printer and extruder. So yeah, it comes out of the extruder at a very high temperature, and then layer by layer it cures to a point that we have a solid monolithic structure. So it's very cool.
Yeah. Now, one of the dreams of 3D printing is that it reduces waste. And yet, some of the output I've seen from 3D printers is very layered, and it's evident. Uh, are you creating something that is really has a finished appearance? And if so, how do you get that? Are you having to do some sanding or polishing? What's going on there?
We're leaving it as it comes. So the benefit of our polymer-based printer is that the beads are very fine. So the layers that you kind of see on a 3D printer, I mean, in scale to the property that the building that we're creating, the beads are very narrow. So we're creating I guess, pattern, detail, texture that to us is aesthetically very nice to look at. It's like any other kind of pattern you'd see on a stucco or a siding. It's just a very linear pattern. So on the outside, we leave that as it's printed. It obviously, with efficiency being the key word, we're not going down to the level of kind of then using a CNC machine to take everything back to a smooth finish. So and then on the interior, we clad everything with the finished materials anyway, so you don't actually see from the inside any of the printed structure. It's only the outside that you see the bead layers.
The designs that I've seen on your website are rather inspiring, very futuristic.
Thanks.
In some of the designs, there are I see what appears to be some wood. Is that a faux wood finish, or on your plastic, or is that a wood wall that's attached to your 3D printed designs?
Yeah, on the interior is an LVP, so it's like a luxury vinyl plank on the inside that, as I say, is part of the interior cladding system that we add after the print's been completed. So it enables us to print on the first day, do the rough on the inside, insulate on the inside, and then finish the interior. As I say, we're keeping the options kind of to a finite list at the moment, but there's different kind of textures and finishes. But the one you would have seen is a vinyl rather than an actual hardwood, because we have the curves to work with as well, which as aesthetically cool as they look, they're harder to finish and engineer.
Yeah, I hear you. So as you build and design these, obviously there's a lot of appeal for people who are eco-minded. When you talk about using recycled materials, especially, that's going to appeal to that crowd. But that crowd also wants solar panels on the roof. Is that going to be an option with your products?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully we get to a point in the future, not just with our homes, but with all homes, that it's a mandatory or a standard inclusion for homes. But ours at the moment is an additional option. As I'm sure you know, the thing with solar is that it ends up being a luxury ad because of the cost associated with it. But we want to get to a point where the technology comes to a point where the cost reduces, and hopefully the incentives continue as well, so that it becomes more of a standard installation rather than an upgrade. But yeah, right now solar panels, solar battery are an optional upgrade for our units.
Great, great. Well, this is really an inspiring project, Ross, and exciting to think about. The avant-garde of construction for homes and these ADUs that are becoming so popular around the country as a part of a solution to housing supply. Um, as as you think about what's helped you create success in your life, what do you see as your superpower?
Um, I'm fairly modest, so I don't necessarily consider it as a superpower. I think I I don't know, and I haven't really given this much thought, but I don't. Although I have kind of goals and objectives and long-term aims, I think I I am often so focused on what's in front of me that I kind of take each unintentionally. Really, it's just the way that my mind works. That I just kind of focus on what's immediately required in front of me, which means that I'm kind of, without realizing it, taking those bite-sized chunks and steps towards that ultimate goal that I've set myself when I've sat down and planned it out and figured it out. But as I'm kind of going through it, I'm kind of giving full commitment to each part of it, which ultimately means that I'm getting to where I want to without necessarily not realizing it. But it's the journey that I'm going through, that I'm not just always looking at the kind of finishing line and waiting to kind of get there. It's just kind of working through each part of it and working out what's missing, what needs to be improved, what's the next thing to kind of work on, and before you know it, you've moved a hell of a lot further than you were the week before, the month before, the year before. So yeah, I hadn't really thought about that question. I guess with the title of the podcast, I should have given it more thought. But yeah, that's the first thing that comes to mind.
But it's really kind of a brilliant aspect, because other people see a vision and can't execute, can't quite figure out how to what are the steps to take, and it's your natural inclination to go to the work, to do the tasks, to get stuff done that move you closer and closer to your end goal, and that's powerful. That's powerful stuff. Can you think of an example, a specific example that would help illustrate this for us?
I mean, there's so many parts to even just this process of where we've got to today, but this concept was probably conceived in my mind like 18 months ago, and we weren't in a position to kind of release it as a product until earlier this year, probably like 9 months ago. But conceptually had the vision and the image of what we could create and what it would look like, or the options of what it would look like. I had kind of sketches of those designs that you mentioned earlier. At the time, didn't have a huge or a deep appreciation of the 3D printing technology itself, but could kind of see what it's done on a smaller scale, and could see how that could be evolved into some of the visualizations I had in my head. So, I mean, one of the parts was that along the way was we couldn't find a 3D print manufacturer who created these large-scale 3D printers that could create something that met our specifications. So that was our hopeful scenario was that we'd find a manufacturer that could, yep, this is what you need, and this is what what will create the structures that you've designed. So we talked to, I mean, this was all during kind of 2021. So my business partner and I spent a lot of time on Zooms and talked to people all over the world about what we were trying to do. And the more information we gathered, the more we realized that there's other ways of approaching it, and we effectively evolved on a design, and I'm sure it's going to evolve further, that allows us to create the structures that we have designed. And yeah, from a point of lots of no's saying, yeah, no, we can't do that, or we can do this, but we can't quite do that. It was a lot of conversations, a lot of kind of knowledge building in our own minds to then know, okay, this is how we can kind of tackle that that problem, or here's a different approach for doing this. Because ultimately, because it is an early stage, we're talking to the people that we're talking to who know 3D printing inside out, haven't necessarily had a use case like ours before. So it's kind of extracting what they know and understand from other industries and applying it to ours. And yeah, it's got us to a point where we can print our structures. And as I say, there's so much room for development and evolution moving forward. That's kind of the most exciting part about this whole thing.
Yeah. If you were trying to coach a colleague or an employee, someone on your team perhaps, to be more like you in this way, to be more action oriented, to figure out day to day how to prioritize and just get to work and get stuff done so that you're not having to provide so much guidance perhaps, how would you train them? How would you coach them to develop that ability that you've got to be so action oriented?
I think part of it is part of it can be taught, in that it's a matter of scheduling and prioritizing. Like the steps, I would say, are initially kind of just getting everything listed down in terms of what you want to achieve, I guess, long-term wise, and then just take each of those lists and break them down further into what is it that I need to achieve through those. What tasks do I need to complete to achieve that goal, and then breaking it down into a schedule of like short-term goals. Having a program, as we call it back home, where you're timelining everything out to say, this is the period of time that I'll dedicate to this, and then we'll try and achieve that by then. I guess part of it comes from impatience and wanting to kind of see progress on a daily basis, and feel like you're getting closer to where you want to go. So I mean, impatience and I guess to a certain degree, self-criticism isn't necessarily something that is taught, but definitely the tasks and the methods for breaking down a goal and an objective into something that is a much shorter term, because it can become very overwhelming if you're looking at something so gigantic of a mountain to climb in front of you. Then it can become overwhelming, but it certainly becomes a lot more palatable to be able to just kind of focus on the next 10 yards each time you're going through it.
Yeah. Well, I know you've got to run, Ross, and I want to be mindful of your time. Before we wrap up, would you take just a minute and tell people how they can learn more about Azure Printed Homes and the work that you're doing, and how they can connect with you personally?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not, I'll be honest, I'm not a huge social media person, but I am on LinkedIn, and our website itself has a contact form as well. We're at AzurePrintedHomes.com. and we have the Twitter feed and Instagram for the same company, and that can all be found on our website. We're actually finalizing a crowdfunding campaign, so I'm not sure by the time you release this, we might have already finished. But if you go to our website, you'll see a link to say that you can actually invest in the company itself if you choose to. So you can be part of the journey with us. But yeah, reach out and if you've got any interest in the units, or even interest in being part of the company itself, then feel free to reach out through the website and the contact form that we have there, and myself or one of my team will be in touch to connect.
Fantastic. Well, Ross, thank you very much for being with us today. We wish you every success in your efforts to grow a business that will help address so many important problems, from the climate crisis to plastic recycling and housing prices. So thank you and good luck.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
All righty. Let's do some good. Thank you for tuning in to the Superpowers for Good show. Twice each week, we host changemakers who share their impact, insights, and superpowers. Don't miss another episode. Subscribe today at superpowersforgood.com. That's superpowers good.com. Be super empowered. Get your copy of the book, Superpowers for Good, as an ebook, audiobook, paperback, or hardcover edition via your favorite online retailer. Interested in having me speak to your company, organization, or association? Visit devinthorpe.com. Then let's talk. Now, keep using your superpowers for good. Together, we can reverse climate change, improve global health, and eradicate poverty.